his heart when pity-pity-pat somewhere in sunny France. He met a girl by chance with the naughty glance. She looked just like a kitty cat. She loved to dance and play. So he learned no French. When he left the trench, he knew well enough to say, Oui, oui, Marie, will you do this for me? Oui, oui, Marie, then I'll do that for you. I love your eyes, they make me feel so foolly. You'll drive me loony.
The barman told you what? That I was in the Second World War and you want to know what I did? What did he tell you? Called me the tip of the spear, did he? Let's go outside. Beer garden's a bit quieter. What was it like being the tip? What was I thinking as I flew through the air? Thanks for the beer. Good drop. Nearly as good as the stuff before the war. They all want to know what made me so special, the first to land on enemy territory. Simple. I wasn't special. Definitely not. I wasn't an officer, screaming charge or follow me and leading from the front. There were some very hard men, no more than 30 seconds behind me. But they weren't following me, they were just sort of going in the same direction. So when you ask what was it like, I have to tell you, I was bloody petrified. What was I thinking? Not, hurrah, here's 100,000 men landing here today, 1 million by the end of the week. Didn't know anything about them till later. Reading the papers. No, but when I crashed down in those brambles, as far as I can remember, I was thinking, this isn't supposed to happen. Become a glider pilot, they said. It'd be glamorous, they said. You get to put on wings on your uniform above all the medals you might get. Girls will love you, just like real pilots who fly Spitz or Mosquitoes or Lancs. They don't have glider pilots anymore. They're all gone. They started in 1940 and ended in 45, just 5 years. After that, helicopters were better, much less dicey. So the young people of today don't know what I'm talking about. They know about gliders, of course. Sailplanes, they call them. And I've met the people who fly them, on green fields in the sunshine with windsocks are barely moving. They talk about flying with eager eyes. It's not dangerous, they stress. They offer to take you up. Of course, they say you only get one chance at landing. Sure. Can't open up the engine and go around again because you don't have one. So you've got to get it absolutely right first time. Right. But don't worry. The modern glider has so much control you can put it down anywhere. And our main runway is so long. Not like putting a big overloaded glider down in the black of night into a tiny swamp where you've never been before. Packed full of obstacles with real strong wind gusts. Oh yeah. And German machine guns at the end. That's not dangerous. It's a bloody nightmare. But I don't say that because it would shut them up. And I don't want that. I love their enthusiasm and energy. Other people, kind people, people who study military history, they'd tell me it was miraculous. The most fantastic 10-minute flight ever. They said they've read the books about what happened. It was suicide. My God, some authors exaggerate. One thing about wars, they give you loads of yarns to tell. Give you, for instance, we found out later that Jerry thought the field far too small for landing a glider. But when Rommel said every field was to have anti-glider traps, he meant every field. So when the RAF showed us photos of thick poles being planted in concrete, The Major was a bit concerned. "Not to worry, sir," I told him. "If they rip off my wingtips, it'll slow us down nicely." I think he believed me. True. And one Air Chief Marshal, no less, called it, and I quote, "the greatest feat of flying of the Second World War." He was very kind. But he didn't see my plane afterwards, the shape I left it in. Perhaps, if I tell you about the flight, you might understand. We trained hard, over and over again, 6 gliders, 42 landings each into a short field in daylight, then night with lights, then night without lights. Had a pal in the Special Air Service. He used to say, "Train hard, fight easy." You've busted a gut practicing it so much that when you come to do the real thing, it's a piece of cake. When we came to do it, well, it wasn't easy, but it was. It was just very calm. Sort this out, now sort that out. We were flying Horsa gliders, a big throwaway wooden tube with wings and a tail, explosive charge in the back to blow off after the landing, so you can get out quick. Towed by Halifax bombers to the Normandy coast. We could carry a jeep and anti-tank gun, all 25 men. This night, just after midnight, it was men. 30 of us, crammed in, and everyone had packed extra grenades and ammunition, laughing and singing and shouting. Anything to keep your mind off where you were going, except you can't take your mind off. When we crossed the coast, 6,000 feet, we could see the surf breaking in the moonlight. I bunged off from the tug. Then they all shut up, knowing the only way is down into... That sobered them up, thank God. I couldn't concentrate with all that racket. When you're landing in an airliner, you do a beautiful, shallow approach, smooth and serene. It ain't like that in an army glider. You push out full flap and dive down as steep as you dare. Give the bad guys no time to shoot you. Those men sitting behind me, they had guts. Trapped in a thin wooden tube, black as hell. Can't see a thing, and feeling the crate going straight down. At least I had something to keep me busy, checking the compass for each leg against the stopwatch. Anyway, the tow planes just kept on going as if it was some normal bombing raid, copying all the flak. The gliders were silent, invisible. Even with the new black and white invasion stripes on the wings, we would have been hard to see. Just a blackness passing through a black sky. Of course, we didn't know much about the invasion fleet that was churning across the channel to the west. All we knew was that we had to capture some bridges, across a river and a canal. I looked down, and the view of the LZ, the landing zone, is fused with my memory of the photos and the models. 2 silvery strips of water. The tug crew had made it so easy for me. Not like that stuff up in Sicily where I barely made it to the LZ. Most of the guys went into the sea, loaded down, full kit. The Major was sitting right behind me. At the briefing, he wanted me to put the Horsa right up against the end of the canal bridge, bust through all that barbed wire. Right, I thought. Just stroll onto the bridge and accept the German surrender. Okay, let's do it. When the moon came out, I could see everything. There were high winds gusting every which way, the trees whipping about. The generals had already postponed the invasion once because of the weather. This wasn't much better, but I could plot a path between the anti-glider stakes and the barbed wire and the pond and the trees. Time slowed right down. Flaps down, air brakes ready. At around 1,500 feet, I called, doors open, then tighten harness, link arms, brace for impact. Barely glanced at the instruments. a feel where the horizon was, and the sound of the air of the cockpit tells you your speed. 95 knots, a bit fast. We landed exactly where I wanted, and I yelled, "Stream!" The tail chute gave a massive yank on my harness. It slammed the nose down, and all our wheels were torn off. But I was terrified of being rammed by the gliders behind us, so I ordered jettison, and the chute was chopped. We had bounced back into the air and came down, still doing 60 knots, skidding across the wet grass. Juggling the air brakes to get us to the wire, trying to keep the wings level, ramming the rudder left and right to avoid the obstacles and the bloody cows. There you go, Major. One canal bank coming up. We went through the wire and smashed into the embankment. Stopped dead so that my seat mounting tore loose, and I went through the glider's perspex nose, flying through the air. "Look, Ma, no plane!" I'm sure I never screamed. I was concussed and lay there feeling to see if there were any bones broken, blood dripping from some hole in the head. One knee felt terrible. Likely said a few swear words, can't remember. So, there you have it. One British soldier sprawling in French mud. D-Day had started. Not with a bang, but with a weird silence. Maybe a moan from someone in the glider. The sentries on the bridge heard a bit of a crump, but took no notice. Boy, were they in for a surprise. Major climbed out of a hole in the fuselage. He looked stunned, muttered something, sounded like "well done." Could have been, "I'm never flying with you again." It was a very short firefight. The canal bridge was captured. Sappers were cutting wires and checking for demolition charges. The pillbox and machine gun pits contained only dead men. A few minutes later, we had the river bridge too. We lost 2 men. Good men. One drowned in the wreck of the third glider when it ended up in the pond. The other was hit as he crossed the bridge. My mate kept asking me if I were all right, but he was the one trapped under the smashed cockpit. Somehow I lifted the nose off him. Then we grabbed our weapons and started unloading extra ammo, carting it up to the lads. Then all we had to do was hold the bridges against a panzer division. Poor sods. Didn't they know they were taking on the airborne? Rather busy for 12 hours till the rest of the British and Canadian and American armies caught up with us. Back to England, more training, take another hawser into Arnhem. That was a bit hairy too. So, was I really the tip of the spear? The first Allied soldier to land on the 6th of June? Well, that's what the histories say, but who knows? We were all committed. We trained to be the best we could. Somebody had to be first. Same again, my round.
Fighting am the least about the fighting game. When Mr. Hoover said to cut my dinner down, I never even hesitate, I never frown. I cut my sugar, I cut my coal, but now they just deep in my soul. I've got the blues, I've got the blues, I've got the alcoholic blues. No more beer, my heart don't care. Goodbye, whiskey, you used to make me frisky. So long, highball, so long, gin. Oh, tell me when you're coming back again. Blues, I've got the blues since the amputated my blues. Lordy, Lordy, war is, well, you know. make me frisky. So long, highball, so long, gin. Oh, tell me when you're coming back again. Blues, I've got the blues since they amputated my blues.